Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. We got another tiny sprinkle from Legacy of Destruction here this morning. Cool new generic quick play spell. I gave it a quick little read through, nothing too crazy. It's very, very cut and dry, straightforward card, but I actually think this is a card that is you're not going to want to ignore, I think. It's cool. The artwork here is the one card from the Sprite archetype lore that like never really saw us play in Sprite, but he's like just a simple little extender guy for them. I don't remember his name though because he never saw play, but he's standing on a giant pile of garbage. I don't know what that means, you tell me lore wise, but cool. And here's the card. This card is called Blink Out. I also love the name. This is a cool name. Hopefully it doesn't get translated or get a different translation. Quick play spell. That's, I don't know if you ever heard me talk about it. Quick play spells are like the most powerful cards in the game if Konami wants to make them so because of just the versatility of them. But here's what the card does. No hard once per turn here. Target one Link monster on the field. Return it to the extra deck. Then you can special summon one of the materials used for its Link summon from your graveyard. So kind of a lot going on here. And by a lot, I mean the first effect is the first part of this is just super cut and dry, right? This is a removal card that can go second versus into a board of something your opponent plays that's going to end on a Link monster. So we're talking SP Little Knights, IP Masqueranas, Appalusas in terms of like generic stuff. But there's also a lot of just like non-even generic decks that the Unchained Link 2, or like Unchained Soul of Rage. We could also be looking at, Salamangreat. A lot of times only ends on one Link monster, and even if they have the counter trap, this at least just forces the counter trap out, which is generally the most like threatening interruption they end on. So that's one card that baits that out. Marincess, another rogue deck. Boom, usually they only end on one Link monster. If you just remove that, and it isn't currently a towers, then boom, you turn off all the traps that they ended in hand with that were their main source of interruption. That's really cool too. Just a lot of utility depending on like what decks are currently good. And then just being a quick play on top of that means that this card, I don't think this card could ever really be main decked. I just don't really see that for this card. I don't think it does enough using it on your own stuff to work, which we'll talk about in a sec. But going second, I think it's decent, but it's so matchup specific, right? We have so many just Link decks, Synchro decks, Exceed decks, Fusion decks, just because formats end up being so diverse, it's so hard to play a card like this where even if a deck summons Link monsters, there's no guarantee that a card like this even interacts with that deck in the right way that you would even want to have to play it at that point. So just keep that in mind. Yeah, it's definitely a side deck card more than a main deck card in my opinion, but I love the versatility. I'll say that at least, that it's a quick play. So even if you're going first or going second, I could see a world where you side this card in both scenarios because versus, the Link-based decks that this card impacts, because it's just a pretty decent interruption on its own anyway. So like that a lot. And then as for the second effect, this one's a little bit weird. This one's going to be a lot more niche. I'm not going to expect this part of the effect to come up as often. I think more often than not, this is just going to be a solid, simple, quick play that one for one's a monster on your opponent's board. But I do think it's worth mentioning, especially because of some of the recent ban list developments. I think is probably the biggest thing you can point to for this. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, huh. So, like, technically you can target your own Link monster and put it back to then get one of your own materials back from grave, I guess, as, like, follow-up, potentially, right? I think of something like if you made an Appalusa and maybe you use one or two of its negates, but your opponent never had a way to out it or just hasn't outed it yet, you could potentially, like, send it back to summon one of the materials that made it, and maybe one of those materials searches you a card, and, like, boom, you're getting follow-up on the opponent's turn. I assume this card's going to be better in more scenarios, just interrupting your opponent, but there could be scenarios like that. And the other cool thing that's like the full max value you could get out of this card is thinking about this. Underworld Goddess doesn't really see that much play, but that's a card too, where your opponent could use one of your monsters as material from your own field to make Underworld Goddess, and then you could just, this could just like shuffle, like return the Underworld Goddess and just get your monster back, which is pretty good value, being a monster reborn and an out to a boss monster at the same time at quick speed. But the other one too is that recently on the ban list, Konami has, I think 2 ban lists ago, released Change of Heart. They, on this most recent ban list, released oh my god, the equip spell, that Snatch Steal, sorry. Change of Heart, 1 Snatch Steal. They also just released Mind Control from 1 to 3. So we've gained 4 copies of cards that steal monsters. On top of that, we already have the Triple Tactics Talents and even Triple Tactics Thrust to be able to search all of these cards. So not that that's a guarantee that that's going to be a part of every format, but it feels like Talents has at least been some part of every format. And so if people are talenting, trying to take your stuff, you're now going to be able to like punish the monster they summon, and also get the monster back at the same time, which is really cool. So yeah, just that's the bonus here. I like, again, very situational. It's going to be dependent on your opponent in a lot of scenarios, unless you're hitting your own monster, but you're going kind of neg to do that in most scenarios, so that's just fine. But listen, the fact that it's open-ended and it isn't specific to your opponent's stuff, it does give a little more versatility to this card, where you could still make something out of this card instead of it being like completely dead in certain scenarios, which is cool. So I like it. I think it's a cool card. It's definitely a card that it's one of those cards that I would just say grab 3. This one doesn't ring to me as like a secret rare or anything, so it's not going to be super expensive unless it sees like a crazy amount of play in the OCG by the time we're getting this set in the TCG. But assuming that's not the case, I'm assuming this card would be like a super max. I doubt this would be an ultra or higher. And so it's just one of those cards I would scoop, stuff it in the binder, and there will be formats where like you're like either playing a deck that really struggles versus a couple of specific link-based decks or something, and then this card really could come in clutch as a versatile removal piece. So it's cool. I think it's a decent card. I think we're slowly power creeping our way towards just eventually getting a card that just says target a monster on the field, like return it to the deck or destroy it, bounce it, whatever. And it doesn't have to be a specific monster like Link Monster. But we'll see how long that takes to come, because it's going to power creep like every other card if it's a quick play that's like in this realm. But I think eventually that's where we're headed. But we'll see. Hopefully that's not totally true, because I don't want a singular card to kind of take over like that. But anyway, cool stuff. Let me know your thoughts down below. Sorry I went a little more in depth, but I felt like there was a cool, number of niche things to talk about with this card. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think it actually could see play? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's just mid and it probably won't come up that often? Where do you land on it? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. I believe as far as Legacy of Destruction goes, this leaves us with, I think, 43 slots left. And I think this set comes out in less than a month. So 43-ish slots, like 30 days. That's in a pretty good spot here. We're going to start getting some reveals. It feels like next week and the week after are going to be some pretty heavier reveal days. So hopefully we get some Legacy support for stuff you guys are hoping for, and me as well. Just cross your fingers and we'll see. Yeah, more updates as soon as stuff drops. I am moving in the next couple of weeks, so I'm probably going to be doing mostly just news videos when stuff drops, not as much like discussion videos. I'll do it when I can and I feel like it's fine, but I just have a lot of stuff to like pack and get sorted out for the move. But we'll see. All right, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.